What's shaking, everybody? My name is Ross Mandell. I'm coming to you live today from Scott Woolley Studios in Delray Beach, Florida. And I have a treat for you all today, and it's a treat for me. I'm going to be a little selfish today because we've got the American version of James Bond here. He's in Hungary, he's in Turkey, he's in the Ukraine. I mean, he's a special man. He is tuned in to the geopolitical happenings around the world as like nobody. And a lot of people think that I'm really tuned in, and that's because I follow Steven Eugene Kuhn. I hope I got that right. Steven, so great to have you today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. It means a lot that you follow me and that you actually gain knowledge from it, because that's the only reason I do it. That's the only time I go public is when there's something that's pressing and I think that people need to know about it.
Okay. You sure you're not just like a spokes guy for like the CIA or the NSA or some secret department?
It's bad to say that because I get accused of that, and it actually ruins opportunities for me because people are like, oh,
really?
Yeah, it's horrible. It's horrible.
Nobody can explain what's happening around the world like you. I mean that sincerely. It's so great. And what I like to do is I like to conduct an interview in a linear type fashion. Okay. So like, who is Steven Eugene Kuhn? Where you from? Where'd you grow up? Where were you born? How old are you? I want to hear everything.
Okay. Well, I'm 58. I was born in Pennsylvania, lived in Philly and Harrisburg, Lancaster, those areas. Left for the Army when I was 19. Well, I had four stepfathers by the time I was 18.
Hold on a second. I'm trying to do the math. How many? One mother, right?
One mother. Yeah.
So
she was very busy.
She was a player, huh?
Yeah, in her own right, she was. Yeah, very cool woman. She got her first tattoo when she was 66.
That's crazy, bro. That is something wild.
Yeah. And so I had a very colorful.
You decide to go into what branch of the military? If I can ask.
I was in the Army. And I went for, and that's where everything started. I joined the Army to go airborne. And then when I went to leave, they pulled me off the plane, the MPs, and said, you can't leave the state till you pay your underage drinking fine. And so I got delayed and I had to pay the fine. And then when it was time to go, they said, well, you can't go airborne anymore. You're on tanks. And so I ended up on tanks. And it was one of the best things that happened to me. And then I went to the military and I got stationed in Germany after boot camp. And in Germany, I excelled. And I got put on a special team. We won the first time ever in the history of the United States Army. There were 16 of us that won an award, which was tank gunnery. No big deal for anyone outside, but inside it was a big deal. Wow. A NATO competition. And that put me on, sort of the radar. And then I got recruited by generals and people like that to work with them and learn sort of the higher level of the military instead of just the boots, so to say. Very fortunate in that respect. Then I went to Iraq and came back from Iraq after 6 months and stayed in Germany. So I got out of the military and I did what they call a European out.
How many tours did you do? How long were you in the Army? How many years?
Oh, 7 years. 7 years.
Okay.
So there's three different locations in Germany where I was stationed: Berlin, Schweinfurt, and a place called Gelnhausen. And it was in the armored divisions and in the Berlin Brigade. So it was all during the Cold War. So it started in 86 up to 93. So in the Cold War, it was easy. Line in the middle, bad guys, good guys. That was easy.
Right. Wow. Okay.
And then we went to Iraq. It's like 360 degrees. Where the hell is it coming from? Right. So it was a big shock for everyone, especially because we had trained for the mountains in Germany. And all of a sudden, a couple months later, we're in Iraq in the middle of the desert going like,
no mountains.
Yeah. You're going to laugh, but the United States Army, the 3rd Armored Division, I think it was 33,000 troops. Excuse me. We couldn't march at night. Our column was 200 kilometers long, 25 kilometers wide in the desert. That's how big we were. And we couldn't march at night because the coordination was impossible.
Right.
We'd run over people. We were killing our own people, running over them with tanks and trucks and everything else. So they told us you can't move at night, only during the day. Largest army in the world, the most powerful army in the world, couldn't move at night. And that was a big sign for me. I'm like, it's very strange. You'd think they'd have this stuff worked out. But because we were trained for the desert, we didn't know what the hell we were doing. So, and so after that horrifying event, so I was in the battle called 73 Easting. There was books written about it. There was puzzles. There was video games all about the Battle of 73 Easting. It was the largest tank battle.
Say it one more time. 73 Easting? 73
Easting is the phase line where we hit a dried out riverbed, a wadi they call it, where we hit the Tawakana and the Medina Republican Guard. And it was the largest tank battle since the Second World War. So it was like this big deal. We were there, front lines. You know, I lost my buddy in my arms, literally, passed in my arms.
Is this what they call a desert storm in the
right? Desert storm. Desert storm. Yeah. So people say it was a 100-hour war, but it was a 6-month war for me. So that was, that was enough. And and people say, "Oh, you don't know anything about war." I was in. Look, dude, that was my Vietnam. That was my Iraqi freedom. I don't need to know what it's like to be worse.
Right. that was plenty.
Yeah, it was plenty. And from there, I got out, stayed in Germany, opened up a few cocktail bars, a nightclub, an insurance company, a construction company, wrote a best-selling book, was an MTV VJ, a newscaster, worked with, royals and politics. I'm speed, going through this.
Correct. I got it. How old were you when you finished with the Army?
27.
Right. You weren't even 30 yet.
No.
And you stayed in Germany. Why? I'm just curious. And you said you did a European out. Explain that.
I felt like I didn't want to go home with my tail between my legs. I hadn't accomplished anything. I would go back and do the same thing I was doing before. Okay, yeah, I was in the military, but you got to realize when you join the military, you're 18, 19 years old, and you get out, you're 27, 37, whatever it is. You don't know anything about the civilian world.
Right.
Your food's made for you. You eat 3 times a day. You get paid twice a week or two times a month. They tell you where to go, when to go, how to do it, whatever. And all of a sudden you get out, you're like, wait, what do you mean I have to register my electricity bill? How's that work? You know what I mean? Like, you don't know anything.
You haven't done the thing in your life. Right.
Yeah. So I was starting over at 27 and in a country where I didn't even speak the language. And I just said, I'm going to do it. So I'm going to go for it. And I excelled very quickly. And then from there, I moved to, where did I go? Like Austria, Switzerland, Spain, Portugal, UK, Poland, Hungary, and then Turkey after that. And
let me just jump in real quick. So it must have been you were basically in and around Germany when the wall came down.
Yeah, I was on the border when the wall came down.
So that's where a lot of the opportunities probably came, because it was like, what a wild scene that must have been when the Germanys met and all that kind of stuff.
Was it the Pink Floyd The Wall concert where the wall was actually the wall?
I love that.
And
I love that.
The opportunities is a lot of things you didn't think. So once the wall came down, it took a year or two to everybody figure out what was going on. And by that time I was a civilian, and in Germany, it's a law. You have to have health insurance, car insurance, liability insurance, lawyer's insurance. You have to. Well, when they reunified, all of Eastern Germany, I don't know, 30, 40 million, 50 million people didn't have insurance.
Had nothing, right?
So it was like, we had wheelbarrows full of contracts in the office.
I can't even imagine. Signing everybody up.
It was like printing money.
I get it. Wow. Yeah. I love that.
It was crazy.
I love that.
And of course,
right there.
Through that, you meet people, and then I got into the royal scene, and it's always a coincidence. The one guy that I still talk to this day, which is the chief strategist for Buzz and Arrow, for the German government, for the Chilean government, for a lot of people in the American government that I'm not going to mention, but he's my best friend, right? I met him on a boat ride in Berlin with some friends. So we're going through the city of Berlin on the river, and there's a guy sitting there reading a newspaper in the blazing sun, sweating, soaking wet. And I'm like, what's up with this guy? I was walking by, hey, I'm going to go get a beer. You want something refreshing? Look, you're sweating. And he said, yeah. And he was reading my book.
Wow.
And I said, well, that's a great book. And he's like, yeah, it is a great book. It's an American soldier that, I was like, that's me. He's like, oh my God.
What was the name of that book?
It was only in German. Soldat im Golfkrieg, served in the Gulf from soldier to cynic.
Oh, I love that. Now, you spoke German at this time now.
Yeah. I speak, read, and write fluent. Yeah.
How many languages? How many languages?
I was on MTV. How many languages? 2, English and German, full. Little bit of Hungarian. Well, probably more than a little bit of Hungarian. Not so much Turkish. My wife doesn't want me to speak Ukrainian or Russian or anything. She speaks my wife speaks 5 languages, so I can't even catch up.
What a woman!
Too.
What a woman you married.
Yeah, I know. She's amazing.
Is that your first only wife?
Third.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just thinking because with your mom, it must be it's in your DNA a little bit. You know what I mean? You can't compete with that. I mean, 5 stepfathers.
I'm not trying to compete with that. No,
nobody can compete with that. Really, no. It's like a Gabor sister.
And the strange thing is that my father is 78, my mother's 78. and all the stepfathers, they've all passed.
Wow.
So the two originals are still there. Isn't that crazy?
Wow. Well, that's something about your genetics, bro.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure.
I mean, obviously you have good genetics. I mean, look at you. I mean,
my father, 78, looks just like this. Everyone thinks I dye my hair, but I don't. His hair looks like this.
I was going to just say that, bro.
Yeah, no.
I said you don't have any gray hair, but you're dying.
No, well, you shave off the sides. I do this fades to shave off the sides.
Yep.
Gray here. But my dad looks the same way. He's 78 years old.
Wow. And the beard comes in. So I was wondering why you dyed your hair and not your beard. That's what I've been thinking as I get to know you from your posts. It's the amazing thing about social media. I feel like I know a lot about you, but today we're going to learn.
I'm very public now. So, I guess a lot of people do know me,
I understand, but I mean, here's the thing for me. I'm a news junkie. I was a Wall Streeter my whole life. And every single thing affects the market. So, I'd be reading 3 newspapers before people are waking up. I was, a 5 a.m. guy for 30 years, and I'm reading newspapers. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have personal computers. We didn't have all these different things. You had to go buy physical newspapers. Yeah. And my hands would be inky by the time the market opened.
And the thing about it is you had time to read. You weren't rushed because there was no one sending you text messages. Where are you? What are you doing?
Correct. Correct. I wake up. I got 200 messages and posts and comments. And, it's a different world today, boy. But
it's completely different.
I follow you, and when you post, well, I want to get to this. When you just explain the conflict between Ukraine and Russia, NATO's, with the way you explained it. I mean, nobody in America gets that. I'm just going to let you know that nobody. I don't even engage anymore with discussions because it's like, how do you talk to people that just don't know? They think they know.
Well, the issue is the information might be correct, but often it's a delivery that's wrong, which is why I deliver the way I do. I've had people, I've had a lot of people say to me, you know what? I don't support Trump. I don't like Trump. I don't agree with you, but man, the way you deliver it makes me think. They actually comment that. They actually comment like that in the section. Like this makes me. Yeah.
You know how to deliver. You're an orator. I mean, you really deliver content, but intelligent content. And then I recite some of the things you say in my way.
Yeah.
And everybody thinks I'm so smart.
Well, no. Well, you are obviously, but
thank you.
I think it's about. It's more about restraint when you're delivering, because I could get emotional easily about some of these things. And even now how I'm talking is different than when I talk when I'm delivering, because I want the message. I don't want my mimic. I don't want the voice, the tonality. I don't want the inflection. I want the message to go through. And a lot of it has to do with that. And I could get emotional. I could get loud. I could get, flowing around. I could do all that stuff, but I refrain. I resist that.
I understand.
You see, because I want the message. It's about the message. It's not about me.
Just the fact that you are so thoughtful and analytical about the way you deliver your content says a lot about you. I mean, just so you know, I take all this in. It's spectacular. It's now I know better. Now I know you're thoughtful about it. It's just not. You're not just delivering this sort of message with intelligence, but it's not just intelligence. You really are informed. So I'm convinced you're an international spy, that you're the creation of some, 3-letter agency in the government.
If I was, I wouldn't be on this podcast. I can tell you.
No, I think listen, the president is on Miranda Devine's new podcast, formed by, Rupert Murdoch's The New York Post, etc. So no, you guys are smart. You guys in the spy world are very smart.
Pat, I'm not. I'm not.
It's okay. I understand. You have to deny. I get it.
Well, I get accused of that, obviously, but it's actually cost me some really good acquaintances and positions. And
I know you said that, and I get that too. I understand that.
I mean, I've had people disown me, like and it's like, what are you talking about? They're like, Steven, you don't really have a job. You drive a nice car. You're always traveling. What the hell do you do?
Gorgeous wife.
And gorgeous wife. And
every time you post, you're in a different country, a different city. I'm like, come on, man. Nobody is that cool. Nobody.
Well, no, in the middle, and where we live in Turkey, we're an hour or 2 or 3 hours from anywhere. All of Europe, Italy, we go to Italy, Spain, France, Dubai. It's all 5 hours to Dubai, 2.5 hours, 3.5 hours to Italy. It's 2.5 hours to here. It's just in Hungary right now.
But, you know, Turkey is like with this Erdogan and, you know, his position, you know, I mean, he's like pro-Iranian. I mean, these different things. And I'm stunned that you live there. I can't understand. So I want to get to that.
But you got to remember, you are not the American government. I'm not the Turkish government. Right? The people aren't the government. I'm not the government. You're not the people aren't the government. And I can tell you this with absolute certainty. Turkey, Antalya, where we live, the city, is the safest, the calmest, the most cordial, the most warm and welcome place I've ever lived. By far. It's no road rage, no bullies. Now, I've been there for 3 years, never seen one argument even in public. Nothing. And there's 3.5 million people in that city, right? And it's the kids walk down the street at night, 10 o'clock at night. One's, you know, the 12-year-old, he goes by himself, rides his bike, goes somewhere. No issues whatsoever. And if they're at a birthday party, the one mother will call, hey, I'm here. Should I bring your son home? Sure, go ahead. It's like, it's so amazing.
No street crime like that?
No street crime, nothing. And Antalya, okay, Istanbul's different. It's a big city, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
You know? But where we live, and it's incredible. And number two, mom is mom, dad is dad, leads the family, mom's the heart of the family. The kids know who the dad, the father, the masculine is. They know who the mother, right? The feminine is. They know what the roles are. And I don't mean roles like in the kitchen, barefoot and pregnant. I don't mean that. Because Olga, my wife, she's an entrepreneur, has 3 companies, right? And she kicks ass. Like I said, she speaks five languages. And so still at that time, like we talked before the show, she said, I want my man to lead. I wanted to make decisions. I want him to move forward. I need a strong man beside me.
To be a man.
And I need a strong woman beside me because in my opinion, the true feminine only emerges when the true masculine is coupled.
I get that too. That's how my marriage was.
And vice versa.
I go to work. I take care of business.
Yep.
She handles everything else, the family, the house, my personal stuff, our personal, even our social stuff. Except when, you know, in business, I would say, hey, listen, I'm entertaining. We're having a party. And then she would take care of it. You know, a man and a woman's role are defined.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And it's clearly. Also, it isn't just that, because the issue with modern society is we do it for us. Like most people do it for, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do it. We do it as an example for them, for the kids. This is how you lead a family. This is how a man leads. This is how a woman leads. This is what the difference is. This is why the heart and the soul is, you know.
I love that. But you know, the funny thing is, in today's world, so many people disagree. I hate to say it like that.
Well, it's because it's the whole identity politics play. If everyone's special and everyone's a victim, then of course everyone's going to be fighting for attention.
Right. It's all a bullshit message, a bullshit narrative that's been spread around. Is that what it is? Yeah. To control the population, et cetera?
Of course that's what it is. Of course that's what it is. If I tell you, Ross, all men with gray hair or gray beard, we're the most special people on the planet. And then a bunch of people join us and we start holding flags up saying we have the gray hair, the gray beard. You know, we want that attention. And then, of course, you have someone, let's say an organization or something that says, hey, we can leverage these guys to get something what we want. So let's push it.
Right.
Next thing you know, you got 1% of society with a gray beard, gray hair that's getting all the attention, all the news, everything. And you know what I'm talking about. So, you know, it's not something to brush off all conspiracy theories and stuff. Just honestly, back up. I always say pan out like in the movies.
I love that. Correct.
And just look what's going on. Like ask yourself, why is this happening in the West only? Why is it not tolerated here in Hungary, in Poland, in the Middle East at all? And why is it that in UAE, Abu Dhabi, and Dubai are the 2 safest cities on the planet?
Oh my! You like? Are you listening to my conversations?
No.
You sure you're not tapping into my NSA? No. You're listening to my. You know how many times I've said that in the last 48 hours?
Really?
Yes, because, you know, I was at lunch yesterday with some people, big influencers, 12 million organic followers. She's got more than he does, but he's got a very big podcast. And I'll give a shout out to Scott Clary and Gina Tash. Love you guys. They just bought a place in Dubai. There's a special, visa, an influencer visa. You get 10 years versus 2 years and other benefits. And they're so smart in Dubai, these sheiks. How many times I've Googled and said the words, the two safest cities in the world are Dubai and Abu Dhabi.
And you know what?
Now I know you're listening.
You know what? You know what the coolest thing is about Dubai specifically is it's only about 15 to 18% locals.
Really?
All the rest are expats. So you gotta be really careful down there. A lot of sharks down there. But when we met, we were going to Dubai, my wife and I went to the counter check and I said, hey, is there any business class seats left? Because said they were booked out. And they said there's one left, but this guy just took it. And it was a guy in a hoodie, like this little Arab guy in a hoodie. And I was like, dude, you stole my seat. Joking. He gave me a high five. Turns out he's like the sheik's son, right? And he invites us to his compound outside of Dubai. So we go to this compound, and on this one compound, they had a full apartment building with the whole family, a villa for the dad, an indoor swimming pool, a classic car warehouse, a beef farm, a lobster farm, a fish farm, a riding school, horses on this one compound. I was like, what is this, self-sustainability? He goes, no, this is how we usually live. This is how we live. We're like Bedouins, And
Bedouins with billions.
Well, back in the day, Bedouins.
I get it. I understand. Right? So, I think they're so smart. I think I can't wait to go to Dubai. I just cannot wait.
This is what he said to me. And a lot of it. So what happens is they have these big rooms and there's sofas around the outside like this. And then the guys come in, they serve tea and sweets and that kind of stuff. And you just sit there and talk for hours. All these men. So it was the 2-star general from the army. It was the chief of police from Dubai. It was the billionaire jewel guy. I forget what his name is. All these like Arabic billionaires.
Serious men.
That do not joke around, that don't talk unless there's something to say.
I love it.
Most of them are silent, and they're listening to the one guy who's a 2-star guy. He's like Air Force pilot, ex-Air Force pilot. And Olga was with me as the only woman, because women usually don't go into these rooms.
Right, I get that.
So I said, baby, we got to get you dressed right. Obviously not the burqa, but we dressed her, respectful. And they were like, Steven, you know how much that means to us that you did that? Exactly. And then we were talking, and he said, we never meet foreigners. I said, what do you mean you never meet foreigners? I said, you could walk out in the street and trip over them. I mean, like, he goes, but they don't approach us and we don't approach them. And I was like, wow, what a shame. So there's an opportunity there.
I love it.
You know what I mean? If you see where I'm going.
I love it. That's my plan. Plan, Yeah. I was a guest of the United States government for about 112 months.
Oh, you were?
If you had a chance to, Google me. So I'm just finishing up my, they have a long leash on me right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But hopefully it'll be terminated very soon. And that's
good.
My plan is to go there quickly because I've met three serious influencers, a guy from Ireland, the UK, a guy from Britain, from London, and the Clarys from Miami, all in the last few months, all now have places in Dubai.
Yep, of course.
And with special sort of consideration.
Right.
And it's so smart because, it's men like them, guys like us that can help, if not sway public opinion, literally create public opinion. Because half my podcast was about what he's doing in Dubai, how great it is, all the benefits. I mean, how smart, because that's the new media. And that's why we said raw media. This is what I'm building, a new media company for the new age. What an opportunity.
The opportunities are crazy down there, number one, except for in summer where it's 40 to 50 degrees, whatever, it's like 100,
which is very hot. Yeah.
So people usually go somewhere else during that time. It's like Dubai's dead in that time. Like it's everybody's indoors, no one leaves.
I don't, you can't blame them. I've been to Vegas and Arizona in the summer, 120 degrees. I can't, it's brutal.
Yeah. No.
But for you, I know it's nothing. You could probably do jumping jacks and scale walls and, disarm 6 armed guys.
I'm a sweater. And it's when it's in Turkey, for instance, right now, it's about probably 100, 90 to 100. And it was superhuman because we live right on the sea. We literally live on the Mediterranean.
Which sea?
Mediterranean.
The Mediterranean. Okay.
Like literally we look at it every day. We have a window that's about 12 foot long, just glass. Looking right at the sea. Absolutely. I mean, when you wake up, like proximity is everything, man. Surroundings are everything. When we wake up in this beautiful apartment, looking at the sea every day, it just makes your day better immediately. And it's not something you get used to either.
Listen, just waking up and looking at your wife would give me pleasure.
Dude, waking up, sleeping, falling asleep, waking up, driving the car, doesn't matter.
I
Whatever.
love it. Yeah, I get it. Now let me ask you a question. So what are the prices there? Like
in Turkey?
You get you're getting great value, right? You're not just getting a great location and a beautiful view, but you're getting value, right?
Massive value, yeah. I mean, okay, to buy now, forget about it. It's way too high. It's overinflated. Within the last 4 years, everything's gone up about 400%.
Even in Turkey, huh?
Yeah. In Turkey, it was when I got there, $1 was 17 lira. Now it's 38 lira for $1. 2005, 200. No, was it 200 lira was about $100. Now it's $5.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's hurting, but people are happy. People are not aggressive. Look, they drive crazy. They don't. Laws exist just in case you want to follow them, right? I mean,
I get it.
Like my wife always drives in the middle of the road on the line. I'm like, what are you doing? Oh, so what if someone opens their door? And everyone drives like that. And like, so you have 2 lanes, but you can't pass because everybody's driving in the middle.
I understand. I believe it or not, I get that mentality.
And then you have, at the red light, it's 2 lanes, but there's like 5 cars at the red light next to each other. And this guy on the right wants to turn left, and no one beeps, no one flips them off. They're like, go ahead, whatever.
Right. Let me ask you, are they devaluing the currency? Is that what they're doing?
It's inflation. It was hyperinflation. Of course they are. They're trying to get everybody into those 7 economic zones around the world. That's been around for a long time. And in order to do that, you have to crush the good ones. That's what they're doing.
That's like the master plan, right?
Yeah, that's what they're doing in the West. Like right now, I don't know if you saw my latest reel. This war, what's going on right now with Iran and Israel, that's the preface to the reason or the excuse to stop supply chains worldwide, just like they did with COVID.
100%. I get that. And I did see that reel. I didn't fully understand it, but intuitively, I know you were spot on. I know it's like you get it at a level that nobody else gets it. That's why I think you're James Bond speaking on behalf of some secret agency, because how do you see that?
I don't know. I can tell you this is how it started. So when I met that guy on the boat, right? He's a chief strategist. He invited me to his house and for dinner. I met his wife. She was a Duchess of Oldenburg.
Wow.
And she's now the head of the party, the AfD in Germany, right? So they're married. So
wow,
really
I get it.
Really good friends. So there's one contact you obviously know. And I helped build, actually, myself, and him, we built the Civil Coalition, which is now the Civil Alliance, which became the AfD.
Wow.
Right? And which is the largest non-party political organization in Germany turned into the AfD. And so she's the full thing. He's a strategist, the whole works. But so he invited me to his house for dinner. She was there, this kind of stuff. And I'm sitting there, I'm American. I show up, t-shirt, shorts, and the ex-prime minister of Germany's there, defense minister, a couple of business guys. And I'm like, dude, why don't you tell me,
right.
You're winning. and here we go. So they were looking at me and they started asking me questions, like political questions, Obama on debt ceiling. And I'm thinking to myself, why are they asking me this stuff? I don't know any shit. I don't know shit about this. Right. And then I remembered one thing that a guy said to me one time. His name was Mark Minter. When I was running my bars, he was a guest in my bar. And he said, hey, I have a company. We're bringing it from the UK to Germany. I want you to run it. And I'm like, I'm a bartender. Like, okay, I have bars and businesses, but I'm a bartender. And this is a listed company in the UK. So he said, no, I really want you and you can do it. And anyway, so I said, all right, whatever. So I went through the training, all that kind of stuff, suit and tie guy kind of thing. It wasn't my thing at all. And I'm sitting there one day, air conditioner's out. I'm in a suit and tie, sweating. He's talking about the P&L and the budget and the financial reports. I didn't even know what a P&L was. I didn't even know what it meant. Right. Like literally.
And it's a PLC, by the way, right?
Yeah. I was 32 years old, making 28 grand a month. I had no clue what I was doing. And I told him, I said, look, I'm a fraud. I don't know what I'm doing here. I quit. I'm out. And this guy said to me, Steven, shut up. I'm going to tell you one thing. If I see something in you and I entrust you, that means it's in you. All you need to do is embrace it.
Experience it. You have to experience it.
Yeah. And I was like, And then I crushed it. So when these political guys started asking me these questions, I just answered what my intuition told me. And I was almost like I was getting downloads, right?
I love it. I get
and
that.
I started answering. And this is when the first CIA thing came out. Because I answer all these questions and just from intuitive, because I have nothing to win and nothing to lose, nothing to gain.
Right.
Nothing. So I'm like, my God, I'll just say what I'm going to say. About 3 months later, we met again, and they're like, how did you know all that? How did you know that was going to happen before it happened? And I said, my intuition and sort of the information I have. And that's what set me on my path of this political sort of engagement that I have. It's never official. It's never like I'm listed here or there or whatever, but I've consulted the Croatian government, parliament, the European parliament, people, parts of it, German, British, PMs, the thing, not PMs, what do you call them? But congressmen, basically, what they are.
I understand.
It just baffles me, but it seems like I'm always right.
Well, I want to say you have sort of insight that comes from a much greater understanding than the average bear, let's just say. So if you're not sort of affiliated or a part of our government or our intelligence apparatus, let's call it, you must be on their radar because you have all this connectivity.
Oh, they've tried to recruit me twice. Twice for the Christians in Action, we call them. And
I love that. I never heard that.
And then one time, I said this recently for the first time public, is they tried to make me a senator in Illinois.
Really?
A United States senator in Illinois, yeah.
Which party?
The Democratic Party wanted me to go as a senator, and I was like, I'm Republican. They're like, it doesn't matter. You're a poster boy.
You are.
You're a war veteran. You got a Bronze Star. You're big. You're good looking. Da-da-da-da-da.
The whole thing. I get it. How tall are you?
6'4".
You're 6'4".
Yeah.
230?
Yep.
225?
Exactly 230, yeah.
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 You're a beast, bro. You definitely James Bond. I'm sorry to tell you.
And so that was a long process there. Finally, I turned them down, and they threatened me and did all kinds of stuff. But the people that tried to recruit me, it was in Zurich, Switzerland. I was living there in 2012.
In Switzerland?
Yeah. And they disappeared after that. I never found them again to this day. I tried everything, reverse searches, and you name it, I did it. Tried to find them.
That's what they do, right? They disappear, they appear and disappear, and nobody knows what the hell.
And people, I told this on a podcast the other day, and people were like, give us names. And I'm like, what, am I stupid? I'm not going to put myself at risk. You know what I mean? Come on. The only reason I'm saying these things is because now's the time that it's now or never. Like, there's no more hiding from it. It's happening right in front of us. What's happening in the Middle East? What's happening in Ukraine? What's happening over in China? What's happening in Africa even? All these places, they're all high points. This is to reset. This is the reset. It's almost 2030. We got 5 years left until they have their master plan. And it's not something that's conspiracy. It's written. It's documented. They talk about it, the whole works.
Right. So, they've actually shared it. I mean, it's not like some big secret.
Well, that's part of the plan is you have to share it. You condition people to hearing it. Where they
Correct.
Don't it.
So it's not a shock. They,
exactly.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
It's in their subconscious already.
Yeah. So, and look, I don't want to risk my life, and I don't want to have trouble with all this kind of stuff, but I can't know what I know and
not share it.
Yeah, it's impossible. I really feel like I was feeling bad, like physically. I'm talking to my wife, and I'm like, God, you know what's going on in Ukraine? How can people not see this? Like, how is it even possible that anybody can believe the bullshit that's coming out of the media's mouth?
I mean, let me just say like this. So Ukraine was not a member of NATO. They're not a U.S. ally. And yet we keep we got to fund the Ukraine. We got to fund the Ukraine. It's like we practically declared war on Russia, right? Well, how many treaties have we broken? Keep moving to Russia from East Berlin, right? That was the line. Yeah. We said, hey, NATO's not going to come, right? Let's talk about that because
that's what Orban says here. Orban is the prime minister of Hungary. He's like, wait a second. They're not in NATO. They're not in the EU.
Correct.
Right?
Not even in the EU. That's correct.
And so it's like they're going to sanction the European Union. It wants to sanction Hungary for not monetarily and weapon-wise supporting Ukraine. He's like, wait a second.
Correct.
I don't have to. They're not in the European Union. They're not in NATO. I don't have to do anything with them. But they're still sanctioning him. And again, the European leadership, and I'm talking about the Commission, right? Ursula von der Leyen and all the other puppets. They're flunkies from their own countries. So Ursula von der Leyen was under investigation for massive fraud. So they sent her to the European Union. She's the president. The vice president is from Portugal. Same exact thing. Massive fraud. They send her to the EU. And what they do is they use that to get them as leverage to get them to do what they want them to do.
It's just straight extortion, really.
The stupidest things, the biggest lies, that absolute garbage, and they stand there and they actually want you to believe it. And most people do because they look like grandma and your brother and your sister. And that's another thing, is how the people look. Look at Trudeau, look at Obama, look at Kutz, look at all of these leaders. They're all fitting to what they want you to think.
It's like a prototype almost.
Yeah.
I get it. It's the craziest thing. And, for a while, I thought maybe I'm a little nuts, and then I discovered you. I really mean that. Because now you know you're nuts. But there's I know that I'm nuts, but I'm not stupid. Like, they want you to believe something that your eyes are not seeing. Yeah. There's no violence in LA. I'm sitting there, I'm watching cars burning. Now, I also know it's one block and it's being engineered in certain ways, but your eyes, you're watching something and they're trying to tell you it's not happening.
Facts don't matter when you have emotion.
I like that.
Right?
Yep.
So when you're talking to someone emotional, which is usually rioters or Antifa or any of those kind of groups,
right?
You can drop facts all you want. All you do is make them even more upset.
Right. So now they say that they found out these rioters in LA are getting paid $200 a day.
Or more, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm just saying,
really go to nomorkings.org.
Say it one more time.
NoKings.org. It's the entire map of where on the June 14th, where it's going to break out.
You think we're going to have a bad Saturday, huh? Tomorrow?
1,500 demonstrations are already planned.
Right. Yep. And funded, these people.
Your taxpayer money.
Right. They just took it right out the back door.
Yeah, and California is one of the largest supporters of it.
I understand that.
Texas.
You think there's going to be a lot of violence around America tomorrow?
What's that?
You think there's going to be a lot of violence?
Yeah.
I do too.
Whether or not they're going to show it is another thing.
That's exactly right. They don't. I remember the Black Lives Matter thing. Peaceful protest. Meanwhile, every storefront glass is broken. Looting like crazy.
This is right out of the playbook of one of Obama's sort of advisors back in the day. He talked about doing this. It's
going to get bad tomorrow.
This is a hostile takeover of America.
It's been going on for quite a long time now.
Yeah, but now it's actually like boots on the ground kind of thing.
What I feel like now, they're not trying to hide it anymore. It's in the open.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For years, it was like, hidden. Now I feel like it's really blatant. They don't even care anymore. If you know, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah, exactly.
Let me ask you a question. So what do you think about other cities? Let's say like London. You think there's going to be a big upset in London maybe tomorrow?
Well, here's the thing about the UK. Everybody talks about Russia. You know how many people were arrested last year for making social media posts that were inflammatory or whatever? Like 300 people.
How crazy is that?
In the UK, that's in Russia. In the UK, it's like 30,000 people.
Thousands. For making a post on Facebook or Instagram.
Like grandmothers and stuff saying, I don't like our prime minister. Boom. Jail.
Good luck. Goodbye.
So they even have a law there now that if you're a foreigner and you post something bad about the UK and you fly in,
they can charge you, right? From America. I get it. I can't believe it.
And so I speak a lot around the world. I speak in the UK at M&A conferences. I speak in Dubai at the end of this month and actually next week at an M&A conference all over the world. So I got to be careful how I present things. And that's why I try to stay, I guess, non-inflammatory.
Neutral.
But no,
not
like
Switzerland.
I'm not neutral. I'm non-inflammatory.
Well, you're delivering information, but you do it in a way that's just like informative, like you say, with sans emotion. Yeah. And so it doesn't come across as inflammatory.
No,
but
it's not.
If you just changed your tone a little, it would be very inflammatory. It's the same words. Yeah. I listen to you very carefully. You're one of the only people I ever, when you see a post on Instagram and you get an option to watch again, You're like the only guy on the internet that I actually hit watch again.
It's
Because I
strange.
want to absorb it.
I never wanted to do this. You know, when they were talking about sending missiles in and all this kind of stuff, and I did a video. I said World War III or something. I just did it like ad lib in my living room. I posted it on TikTok, I think, which I had like 2,000 followers or something. And next thing you know, it was shared by like Alex Jones and like all these people.
Right.
And I didn't even know it because it was shared on Twitter. Right.
I get it.
And then someone wrote me, said, dude, have you seen this? And then Jimmy Dore showed my video on his podcast, like he said, this guy's talking about Europe. Listen, and then showed my whole video.
Wow.
And like, it was just smashing it. And now I'm like, I don't know, 60 million views or something I have in total in like 90 days.
Wow.
But you've never had a plan to do this.
You don't have a podcast of your own, right?
No, I never had a plan to do. I just started doing it. And people wanted more information. So I'm like, dude, now I got to tell them. Like now I can't open that box and then just walk away. And so that's where it came from. So there's no like strategy behind this, really.
Well, it just seems like a lot of your life has evolved like that, where you didn't really plan it, but you were present. Yeah. You were present at various moments, and there were opportunities.
And you just nailed it. So in my book, Unleash Your Humble Alpha, I talk about presence and being present. Presence comes from being present. And when you're present and you have presence, people are attracted to you.
Correct.
Right people are attracted to you at that frequency that you're at. And so I've attracted people into my life that you would not believe. Like I walked up to Mick Jagger and said, I'm your new bodyguard. It was in 1998. So I
saw that.
Yeah.
I saw it. That's a great, we can share that right now because people didn't know.
So 1998, I had my bars and all kind of stuff and I was still goofing off and doing well. I heard on the radio that Mick Jagger or the Stones were coming to Berlin for 3 weeks. They were going to do Berlin and then Leipzig, and then they're going to go to Monte Carlo, come back and do the Olympic Stadium, right? And I said, wow, that's cool. And then I heard at the end, and his bodyguard's staying in London because he hurt himself. And I said, shit, he needs a bodyguard. So because I had cocktail bars, I knew all the hoteliers, I knew all the gastronomy, I knew everybody. Because on Monday nights, I had a gastronomy night. So anyone who was in the hotel or restaurant business could come to my bar and drink half price.
Wow. That's
so that's how I had one. Yeah. So I went to the hotel. I'm like, hey, I'm going to wait for Mick. And where's he at? Oh, he's upstairs. Go wait in the cafe. Wait in the cafe. And Mick comes down with his entourage. And I walked up and said, hello, Mick Jagger. My name's Steven Kuhn. I'm your new bodyguard. And when I used his full name, that caught his attention because some people say, oh, Mr. Jagger or Mick or whatever. Mick Jagger.
You're familiar. It's a familiar way of doing it.
And the same way I did with Bill Clinton. Hey, William Jefferson Clinton, how are you enjoying Berlin? We talked for like 20, 30 minutes. And people were like, who is this guy? Who's this fucking guy talking to Bill? You know? And it's just,
you belong. Act as if.
Well, it's not an act. That's the whole point of it. I own who I am.
I know, I get it, but you're automatically, you belong because you belong. It's belief. It's not, you're not trying to convince yourself.
And belief, I love that you're touching on everything here. Both starts with belief, then it goes to faith, then it goes to certainty, then it goes to knowing.
You know, right? Correct.
Yeah. Belief is like active. I want to believe I'm going to do this. Then you have faith. Like people go to church. I used to go to church. I have faith in God. Let me pray for the same thing every day. Well, if you had faith, you wouldn't pray for the same thing every day, would you? You need to go further, right? Then you go to certainty. I'm certain of my abilities to deploy my genius in any given situation. Doesn't matter if the SWAT team busts in here right now or a hurricane comes. I know I got it. Then you have the knowing. I know I got it.
Right. People ask me all the time, Ross, do you believe? I'm like, no, I don't believe. I know.
Exactly.
I don't. If I believe, I'm not sure.
First level. Belief is the first step.
I get it. But I just know. I know certain things. Like you say, I also get downloads. Yeah. I wonder if we're getting them from the same software.
It must be. Like everyone, they say we're living in a projection. We're living in a matrix. We're living in I don't know what all that means, but I've had situations in my life that you can't explain. And I've had answers. Like when I go on stage, I spoke in Mind Valley. Right. So with Vishen Lakhani,
explain that to everybody because I didn't know what that was at first. So
Mind Valley is the largest personal and professional development platform group on the planet. Vishen Lakhani is a founder with his ex-wife, co-founder, and they have what they call every year. They have Mind Valley University, where they have children, like grade schoolers, then they have middle schoolers and high schoolers, and then they have adults, and they have a university 3 weeks long. And it's like events and speakers, and a lot of it is esoteric, and a lot of it is very, very tangible. And I used to go to this event called Baby Bathwater. I belong to an organization called Baby Bathwater Institute. And it's like Fishin was a member, Dave, the hack guy that does all the Dave, what's I guess the name, with the bulletproof coffee, that guy. He was a member, all these like high level entrepreneurs.
Serious people.
Yeah. So I went there, and it's an island. One of the events is an island in Croatia every year. So I went to this event. One year, I met everybody. I was there by myself. The second year I went, Vishen comes up to me and says, look, I've noticed that you're sort of a loner. You do your own thing. You're sitting here reading books, and there's 200 people over there partying, and you're sitting here across the pool reading. What's going on? And I said, I just like to be with me. I like to learn, right? And he goes, something else I notice about you is when you walk into a crowd, everyone looks at you and listens and stops talking. What is that? I said, it's presence. He goes, could you teach me? This is Vishen Lakhani, who owns the largest professional and personal development group in the world.
Correct.
Asking me if I can teach him. I said, look, read my book. And I showed him online what my book was. He immediately went live in his private group and said, hey, I'm here with Steven, where he's going to be speaking. All right, just like that. And I said, I'd love to speak. That'd be great. He goes, okay, I'll put you on a breakout stage. I said, no, if I'm speaking, main stage, or I'm not speaking.
I love that. That's great.
He said, okay. And he said, okay. So I went to Mind Valley, had a speech prepared, everything. I went up there, and dude, it channeled something completely different.
I get it.
I stayed along the lines. Yeah. And then I was in Tampa a couple months, or last year, actually, almost 2 years. And Tucker Carlson spoke, then Manny Sanchez, and like all these famous people. And then I spoke, right? And I took my jacket off. I'm like, oh, if you're not paying attention right now, you might as well just walk out. I was like, we're crazy, like.
I love it.
And I felt the vibe in the room. People needed to wake up.
It's all about the audience. You could feel the emotion, Yeah. I teach that. It's funny. We've never met.
No.
But I do follow you, and I follow you intently. I follow also a lot of women in bikinis, but it's not as intense. But with you, I really pay attention, and I really
you get both
learn a
with
lot.
me, don't you? You get my wife in the bikini and me.
Yeah, that's you were on a boat.
Yeah.
And I have to be honest, that's probably the first, picture and post that I didn't even pay any attention to you.
I believe it, and that's fine.
Because your wife is stunning.
Yeah,
you've done very well.
Yeah.
I just want to say, I don't want to hear that there's a number 4 in a couple of years.
No.
You understand? She's a keeper, this one. What a woman.
I hear this.
I had no idea you were 6'4".
Yeah.
So you can, because of the guy you are, your build and all that, your experience, you have a physicality about you.
Yeah.
I was like a high school wrestler, and that really helped change my life because it gave me a certain physical presence. But I'm only 5'9".
But it also gives you certainty in your abilities.
Correct. I was a football player, and the wrestlers recruited me because, we had a team, and I took it very seriously. Yeah. But some of the guys were drunk the day of the game. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I said, and I got recruited, and I loved right away because now it's just me against an opponent.
Yeah.
There's no excuse. There's no, this guy's not pulling his weight. This guy is a stud. No, it's me against me. It's really about, like you said, I'm very independent. I'm a loner. And people always say to me, you want to come to the party? And you know what I say? I am the party. Yeah. Wherever I go.
It's strange because I've never fit in anywhere, but I fit in everywhere. You know
exactly
what I mean?
Right.
Exactly. I don't know more.
I'm gonna borrow that line.
Yeah. Because it's I never feel like I don't just what people talk about. I don't want to talk about. I don't want to talk about sports. I don't want to talk about BS. I don't want to talk at all. That's just something really meaningful to be said.
Right.
And so I don't talk. I don't hang out with people. I don't do anything with anybody. My wife and I, we have an amazing relationship. We travel everywhere together. Everywhere I speak, she comes with me, and I highlight her at every single event that I'm at. Point to her. They put the camera on her. Boom. And then we walk out of that room. What happens? All the women go to her and say, what do you do to make him do that with you? And she goes, I'm a woman. I'm feminine. I take care of him. I make sure that he feels that I'm with him. It's that simple, man. It's that simple.
It is that simple. But, I feel like there's room. I have 2 daughters, and I have a group of partners. And for some reason, all my partners, we only have daughters. And recently I've noticed something, an opportunity. in female empowerment. I say to my daughters, like, who do you look up to? Who do you idolize? You know, Miley Cyrus, Hannah Montana. I mean, you know, there are no real, you know, in the male world, there are guys that are very serious men. You know, Tony Robbins. You know, I mean, you can, you know, he's empower yourself, but the women don't have that. And that's why I believe when you highlight your wife in a crowd, the women are going to flock to her.
Yeah.
Women are looking for something now. They've like come out, women, you know.
Well, they have boss babe. They have boss babe. And, you know, you don't need men and we can do it our way.
But I mean, women that are made in the mold that men like us are attracted to, that men like us need or require in our lives. And I believe so. I'm starting actually a female empowerment group. I've isolated 4 women that are spectacular, but they don't. There's no like sort of curriculum. There's no sort of we're creating that for them, and we're going to be launching them in the fall.
Well, I'm a firm believer in meeting people where they are. You have to have an outline of what you're going to do, but you got to meet them where they are because it's never cookie cutter.
Correct.
There are some basics and a foundation that you need to start with. The first one you need to do is that I always think when it comes to women, when they talk to me, they go, you know, how do you deal with a woman like her? Because she's strong. My wife is strong, takes no shit from anybody, will cut you off in 2 seconds and walk away without even batting an eye. Won't even bother her. But she's ultra feminine at the same time. So she doesn't look like she doesn't look like someone who's like, I'm trying to be, I have too much makeup or I got too flashy clothes or I'm up there. You know, it doesn't fit. She's just who she is. And that's the difference is she knows who she is. Most people don't. The true identity was what you are, not what you do, who you are, not who you're trying to be.
Listen, that's one of the most profound things that you've said. I'm in 100% alignment with you. I was had a drug and alcohol addiction. And in 1990, I checked myself into Silver Hill Institute, a little shout out, Silver Hill Foundation, New Canaan, Connecticut. Got into a 28-day program. When I first got there, I was detoxing. And so the psychiatrist comes in. I'm in a detox unit. I'm out of my mind. And they said, so Ross Mandell, who are you? I looked at it. I'm a stockbroker.
No, what you do?
I'm a Wall Street stock. I'm wearing a Cartier watch, solid gold. No. Who are you? And I went around in circles for like 10 minutes, and I learned the difference during that stay between who you are and what you do, what you are, how you behave. Who are you, Steven? Who are you?
I'm a powerful connector. That's what I do. That's so in my book, in the first chapter, we talk about I have a identity statement. I won't go into that, but in the end, it boils down to a 2-word.
Do you have a copy of the book handy?
I don't, unfortunately. I'm like I said, I'm in Hungary. I don't have anything here.
I got you.
Particularly,
I would love. If you send me a copy, and I want it signed.
Oh,
I'll promote it. I'll promote it for you.
I'll have to send it here because you can't send anything to Turkey because of the tariffs.
I understand.
I'll send it here. When it gets here, I'll sign it and then I'll send it to you after that.
I'll promote it because I believe in you, and I say like this: you are, to me, the definition of an alpha male.
Thank you.
To me, you are the definition of an alpha.
My book is called Humble Alpha.
Really?
And the Humble Alpha.
Oh, that's where the email address came in. Okay, I didn't even know that.
Yeah. Own your presence in life and become the epic leader you're meant to be for yourself, in your family, and for your business.
I love it.
And all of the titles and sort of the ideas is me dissecting my life. At that time, it was 4 years ago. So, 54 years of my life. And I said, where did I fail and where did I keep failing? Where did I win and keep winning? And what did I lose and what did I win? And then I came up with 5 models of which to live by that builds a foundation. I call it your Humble Alpha Foundation. So that if you do fall, you never fall past that because your 5 models in your life to build it up again. And now in 2008, 2006, 7, it was great years. We had a mortgage charter with my brother in the States. They were like $100K a day. Ridiculous, just ridiculous money. And we didn't know what to do with the money. So someone said, hey, why don't you produce some films? So we started investing in Hollywood. Big mistake. Anyway, lost everything in end of 2007, beginning 2008 when everything crashed,
Yep.
And then I was homeless in Berlin. fucking
Wow.
homeless, like overnight almost. I had a BMW, sold it, bought a smart car, little ones. And, used the money I had to live as long as I could. Then I couldn't afford rent. So I rented it out to my buddy or a guy that I knew. And I lived in my car or at friends' houses. And I would do it. And no one knew I was homeless. I still wore my jackets with my nice shirts and everything. And I would call, hey man, I haven't seen you in a while. Can I come by? What are you doing tonight? And I'd go over and I'd drink a beer. Like, hey, I can't drive. Could I sleep in your sofa? That's how I did it. Ex-girlfriends, buddies, colleagues, shit like that through all of Berlin. That's what I did for, 6 months. But at that time I had an on and off toxic relationship, and there was a woman, and she would just, degrade me. But because I had no self-value, because I was homeless and I was failing, I let it happen. She brought me to the point where at one time I said, get out of the car. So she got out of the car with her, daughter. Her daughter was 11. And I hit the gas. I was so pissed off. And I was like crying. At this time I was huge because I was in the gym every day. Right. And I was crying and I was flying down the road, and literally a couple 100 feet, police stopped me. I was speed trap.
Oh God.
And they pull me out of the car and I'm like crying. There's snot coming out of my nose and everything. And I'm standing there and she comes up, walking up, because it was only a couple 100 meters. And she's like, he's a war criminal. He murdered people. Arrest him. And I was like, what the, that's how horrible she was. So I'm standing there and there was a bunch of cops. There was a paddy wagon and stuff. And I looked down beside me and there was this like young trainee officer. I looked down and I just like literally reached down real slow, unsnapped her weapon and pulled it to my head. Right.
You were suicidal.
Oh, completely.
Okay.
And in America, I'd have been done. Like they'd have shot me already.
Done.
Not here. She took her hand, put it back into her holster, turned in front of me and said, I know you, Steven. This isn't you. That was like a billy club to the head. Like, what the hell is this? So they put me in a paddy wagon, let me calm down. They didn't say anything about that happening. They took my car and my driver's license because I was speeding, right? And then they said, go home. And I was like, okay. But I didn't have a home. Right. So I went to my old apartment and I called my buddy. I'm like, dude, I'm coming over. I need a place to stay, just for a couple hours. Can you like let me alone for a couple hours? Cause I was just going to,
Really?
Yeah. So I went in there.
Your intention.
Yeah. So he left.
Wow.
And in the back of the closet, I had all my army uniform, all my storage all my stuff was still there. So I hung the uniform up on the door, took a picture of myself in uniform, put it underneath there, straightened the ribbons and, made sure it was nice.
Oh my God, you really?
Yeah. And then I pulled out a K-bar, which is a Marine knife. Right. It was on a plaque that I had from the Marines that I received as an award. And I put it to my neck, and you can split a hair 16 times with this stuff. Right? And I put it to my neck. And at that moment, it was like someone knocked at the door. And I was like, God, I can't even kill myself. What a loser.
You were going to cut your own throat?
Yeah. Like this.
Wow.
Yeah. I studied how to do it. Anyway, so I went to the door. I'm like, what? And it was that police officer.
The woman.
Wow. Came in, once again, took my hand, put the knife down, led me into my own living room.
What?
Said, yeah.
Talk about an angel.
Yeah. See?
My God.
I didn't have to explain it to you. So I came in, she led me in my own living room. She said, look, I know you're an amazing man. I've been at one of your readings. Because I read out of my book, the German book.
The German book, right.
Well, I read your book. You're an amazing man. You're going to change the world. And she got up and did the old, like that, kiss on each cheek and walked out. And she closed the door. And when the door closed, I said, that wasn't real. And I was going to grab the door and open it to see if she was there. Then I said, no, actually.
Right. You're thinking you imagine it.
Yeah, actually, I said, no, I want it to be real. So I'll just let it go.
Now, you were sober?
Oh, like yeah.
You weren't drunk or anything during this whole thing?
No, straight up.
You just hit bottom.
Yeah. And then at that moment, I was like, what am I going to do? Like, I'm not safe here. So I called my friend Michael. His name is Michael Alios Wagner from Austria, like an ex-bodybuilder. He used to train with Arnold and all this kind of stuff. He's about the same age.
Wow.
And he still lives in Austria. And one of my best friends. I said, Michael, if you don't come get me, I'm not going to be here tomorrow. I promise you that. So he sent me a plane ticket on the email. I flew to Austria. He picked me up and put me into a monastery in the mountains of Austria, a Benedictine monk monastery. And I spent about 8 months there. No
8
phone.
months?
Yeah. No cell phone.
Wow.
No laptop, no TV, no access to the outside world. I didn't want any access elsewhere. No one knew where I was. Nobody. I disappeared and no one knew.
And they housed you and they fed you there like that?
Yeah. Yeah. I found out later he paid like 15 euros a day or something like that, but he paid for it. So check this out. I'm back. I'm, like cleansed and I feel amazing. I go back to Berlin after 8 months. Now remember, I had been on TV. I was MTV. I did a news anchor. I had a best-selling book. I had an MBA. I had nightclubs, all this kind of stuff. 8 months. I come back to Berlin. No one even noticed I was gone.
What a shock, right? Exactly.
Shocked.
That's the world. I get it.
But it didn't shock me. It didn't shock me because I had been to that point in over those months that nothing shocked me anymore.
Well, it's strange though, because men like us, we have a degree of self-importance. You have to.
Yeah.
Because that's why we are able to be present, to fit in, to understand
I think it has to do with self-preservation as well, because you were in a situation sort of like mine.
Yep.
And worse, but in a situation like mine. And I think it has a lot to do with, you get to a point where like, no one's going to do it for me. Nope. No one gives a shit about me in the end, really. You know what I mean? Sure, my wife loves me today, but she can't do it for me.
Nope.
So this is what I always say. This is one thing I say to everybody. Your world only exists as it is because you're in it. If you're not in your world, that world doesn't exist. So who's 100%. The most important person? Who's the most important person? Who needs to be taken care of? How can you provide for other people, do things for other people if you're not square in your world? How? You can't. Therefore, you are the most important. Feed yourself well. Eat, be well. Feed your mind. Feed your body. Feed your soul. Feed your spirituality. Feed your sex drive. Whatever you need to feed, right? You have to be that beacon of power, of strength, of ability, of leadership in your life, not in your world, not just in business or in your world.
100%. I came to believe that there's only two things that exist in this whole world. For me, it's Ross Mandell and God.
There you go.
There's nothing else. Everything else is an illusion. Yeah. Everything's an illusion.
Never thought of it that way, but damn, that sounds good.
Close your eyes. There's nothing but you and God.
That's all you need to say. Close your eyes, dude. There you go.
Nothing else.
I might have a lingering.
Everything else is manufactured somewhere.
I'd have a lingering of Olga there if I close my eyes. But
I feel like we had this conversation 100 years ago, and neither one of us was alive.
Could
I
be.
mean that.
Could
I
be.
feel it. It's just one of those things.
Easy to talk to you. Yeah.
I close my eyes. There's nothing but me and God. Everything else is an illusion. Right? Two guys go into a room, the same room. They come out. They're asked to describe it. They have two completely different descriptions. How is that possible? It's nothing but you and God. Everything is an illusion. That's how I've come to believe. But I'm 10 years older than you, so that's just my understanding. And I would have killed to spend 8 months in a monastery. I spent 112 months in federal custody.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
No worries. I'm fascinated by this story. I want you to continue now.
They're actually calling me right now from those friends that are, like it says, the war is going to go on for at least another 2 weeks. You're going to see a level of devastation that we haven't seen yet. Live off the press, my friend. Actually, it's not even in the press yet, but
right. They're going to level. They're going to level.
We just tried to call them.
They're going to level Iran.
Man. All right.
Well, like Trump says, he actually did 60 days ago. He said, listen, you got 60 days. He actually came out and said it. And, it was like a heads up. I really believe that Trump doesn't like killing people.
Well, I believe it too.
I've done 2 deals with Donald Trump. I lived in Trump World Tower for 5.5 years. And he's a tough guy, but he's a real guy. You look at his family, his kids, grandkids, they're a real family. Yeah. You look at Hunter Biden and the Biden people. I mean, you know what I mean? It's like
opportunists. They're pure opportunists.
You got to be kidding me, right?
No soul, pure opportunity.
Nothing. No. A puppet, an empty suit.
Exactly.
So now you're back in Germany, 8 months in the monastery. Yeah. Basically, you're broke.
Yeah.
Right?
Not basically. I was broke.
Right. But you did have real credibility because you had a resume.
Yeah.
And I believe that's a form of capital.
You know what I did? You know what I did when I got back? I said, "Hell, I'm going to do. I don't want to go back to the corporate world. I was a self-employed corporate director. So I worked for a NASDAQ listed company, a British PLC, a South African PLC. The one company I led had 87 locations in 9 countries, 3,500 employees. And I ran it. I ran all the operations and development, built new locations and hired and trained people. So I was like big, right? But I never felt big. So in that space, because it was so limiting, right? You had to do it their way. So when I came back, I'm like, what am I going to do? So you know what I did? I went to the most beautiful, the most famous, the best club in town. There was a line down the street every day. And I said, let me be your new selector. I'm like, what the hell is a selector? I'm like, a selecteur is someone who stands at the front in a suit and tie, entertains people, and chooses who comes in. I'm not a doorman. And they're like, you would do that? I'm like, yeah. So they pay me like, I don't know, it was like $8K a month. I worked 15 hours a week, something like that. I was like Friday, Saturday, and Monday.
$8K a month is enough for you to rebuild your life, to get an apartment, right? To get a car, to have food. I mean,
Yep. And I had the whole week free. So, so people like, and I would see people that I knew from the corporate world. They're like, hey, Steve, you're at the club. You coming in? I'm like, no, I work here. They'll be like, what do you mean you work here? I'm like, God, it didn't happen.
Right.
I mean, nothing happened.
It's demeaning. You feel like it's demeaning.
It wasn't demeaning. This is what I did.
It's not demeaning to you, but to other people looking at you, they think, oh, look at what happened. Look at this guy.
Well, this is the way I saw it. I said, look, one, this will be my way to interact with as many people as possible in a short period of time in the nightlife, people that are waiting in line, or I can do a favor for to let them in earlier. Like the mayor would come there, celebrities would come there, world champion poker players, like you name it. Like they would all come there, and I'd see them. Boom, come here. I'm Steven. How you doing? What are you looking for tonight? VIP? Okay, hey, guy, come over here. Take care of this guy. Bum, bum, bum. I was like that. I'd walk him up, take him in the VIP area, get him a bottle, all this kind of stuff. And I was the guy. TV came, newspaper articles, magazines were coming. Who is this guy? Like, what is he? And this club turned into like world renowned in Europe, European renowned, I guess you could say. Everyone knew about this club because of me in a way, but it wasn't my name. It was like the club, like they treat you differently. Like celebrities are known to go there because they get taken care of and all this kind of stuff. And I wasn't some girl in a bikini. It was a guy in a suit. Right. That was well spoken, spoke different languages, knew shit, knew how to talk to people.
Serious guy, well built, look good, sound good.
Is you go to Berlin now, every club has a selecteur. It's like a dentist, a lawyer, like high-end people that can speak the language to attract the right people.
Correct.
So what happened then is also we had the sports clubs. The one company we worked with, sports clubs. We had 87 locations, sports clubs, very high level. So what do you do in the cocktail bar, in the sports clubs, and in the nightclubs? 3 things. In the cocktail bar, you have people in the bar that are drunk. It could be celebrities. It could be like the Fugees came in, right? They got pissed drunk in my bar. So you see them at their worst in your living room. So you're in your power zone. Same thing in a health club. You go to the sauna, you're sitting there with the mayor of Berlin. You're in your power zone. He's not in his office, right? Nightclub, same thing. They're coming to you to get in. So you meet all these people in your living room, and they see you as equal or higher. So when you go back to them later, you're saying, oh, Steve, how you doing, man? Great to see you. Thanks for taking care of me. And this, that, and the other, blah, 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 blah. So I used what other people would say was horrible. You went from this to this because you're working at a nightclub, but it excelled and it catapulted me like crazy. And even the politicians that I knew started, hey, think I could come with the guys tonight? Can you get us a team? Like, yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, it really got that far.
I understand. Listen, my first apartment was on West 54th Street in New York City. This was in January of '79, in the middle of the disco era. Yeah. And right down the block was Studio 54. And Mark, who was the selecteur at the most famous disco in the world, lived in my building and used to smoke my pot every day. You see, there would be 1,000 people outside. The whole street would be clamored. And he'd see me walk in. He'd be like, Rossi. I'm not exaggerating. Yeah. And I walk in, and you walk in, there's 25 people in this giant club, but 1,000 people on the street. Yeah. One of the greatest marketing schemes in history. Good. And it was like, oh my God. That, and of course, this guy got 1 million opportunities. You know what I'm saying? 1 million opportunities. And
I get offers all the time. All the time.
Yep.
There was a movie script written about it. It's called The Door.
I love that.
I saw murder because you got to realize in Berlin, probably gonna get killed for this one, but in Berlin, you have two groups that are the doormen for all the clubs. You have an Arab family with a certain name that I'm not going to say.
Wow.
Everyone knows. And you have the East German pimps. So
Wow.
prostitution is legal in Germany, but pimping isn't. Right? But these women need men to protect them, so the pimps are the ones that make all the money, right?
Right. Wow.
So they fight over which clubs they're going to take care of, right? So you got the Arabs on this side, and you got you had to hire them. You had to.
Right. I get it.
To bring them in. So I saw, like, these two guys came in one time. Like, hey guys, how you doing? No, and the doorman like, no, they're fine. They walked in. He said they're just going to go and say hi to somebody to come back out. They went in and walked right back out again. They murdered somebody. Walked in, stabbed them like 16 times, and walked out before anyone even knew what happened.
Wow.
I saw like just the other doorman, punch a woman in the face. One of his prostitutes punch her in the face because she looked at me. I saw beatings, murders, like you name it, drug deals, coke, like I saw it all. And I was telling this producer friend of mine, or this director friend of mine, he's like, dude, you need to do a movie about this. So I said, I'm not. So he wrote it. It's called The Door. It never got done. But man, I have a titanium eye socket. I got a broken nose 3 times.
You do?
Yeah.
Wow.
I got a crap beat out of me sometimes by those guys, by the door guys, because I stood up to them.
I'll bet you did.
Yeah, because they're like, we don't like this, this Turkish guy in here, he's a piece of garbage. I said, dude, he's like the top lawyer in Berlin, and he's a friend of mine. He's going in. And they would just tear me up. Yeah.
Wow, it's like organized like that. That's wild.
Yeah. I challenged them every time, and I got my ass beat every time. But, I'm not every time, but, there's like 6 or 8 of them. I'm one.
I get it. It doesn't matter who you are.
So it was, but I never backed down. I'd show up the next day with a, broken nose, plaster on there, and, stitches here. I didn't stop. And they're like, this fucking guy's crazy, or he's serious.
You're a tough guy. You're a serious guy. Yeah.
I don't know if I'm tough. I think maybe I'm just a little bit thick-headed. It's like, this is not right. It's not fair. There's no justice. It's like, I'm not going to put up with that stuff,
You're a very tough guy.
Yeah.
You're a very tough guy. You're not even you're a tough man. You're a man.
Well,
you are an alpha male.
Well, it's thank you. I feel like I'm alpha, but not in the way that most people describe it. But when I first got out of the military, I was stationed in Berlin, or got out of the military and lived in Berlin, I still had raging PTSD, like raging from the war. And I got in fights all the time. And I was a doorman at clubs, at the Hard Rock Cafe Berlin. I was a doorman. I got in a fight,
wow.
3 or 4 fights every night.
Wow.
With the British soldiers that were still stationed there, and all these kind of people and stuff. And I'm talking fights like knock down, drag out, pulling guns out of people's, out of their hands, and knives and machetes. God. The Albanians were there. You had the Russians there. You had the Italians there. Like, everybody was fighting. And because I had this reputation, they would go specifically to fight me.
And you're also a big guy. People, other tough guys like to challenge the big guy,
I was 280 then.
Wow.
And I was like this.
Right, but fighting is different,
Yeah, but it wasn't even fighting. It was that I had this thing where you couldn't beat me because I wouldn't allow it. Like, it simply was like, no. And I was so upset with, or so angry with, okay, so the war, people talk about PTSD, what you did and all this kind of stuff. It's the worst. But the worst for me was what I didn't do in war.
Explain that.
Where I should have helped more, where I should have stopped something that happened, where I should have made sure that this, that, or the other didn't develop in the way that it did.
I understand.
When you see it and you don't stop it, when you know what's happening and you don't stop it, when that hits me harder than what I did.
Actions you did not take, right?
Yeah,
I get it.
Exactly. Yeah.
I have PTSD from my stint in fighting the government in prison and all that. I literally have PTSD.
Of course you do.
It's crazy. 9 years later, what do you think? It's not like I was there, 9 days, 9 weeks, 9 months.
And it never goes away, Ross. I hate to tell you, but no matter how much therapy you get,
I have a feeling it's making me a better man. I really do.
It does. You have to use it as fuel.
Correct.
Sometimes you get up, you just want to stick a knife in your neck. It's like, I'm just like, fuck.
I could say I've never wanted to do that, but a bullet in my head sounded really good.
Yeah. No, see,
I don't like to suffer if I don't have to.
See, for me, it's like, no, if I'm going, I want to suffer. It's like, I need to, it's so,
A K-bar in the neck, bro. That's tough. I guess it's like nicking yourself shaving, just a little bit more than that.
I don't know. I've never done it. So
Thank God. Thank God. But, the bullet in the head is quick. I got to believe that's probably pretty efficient.
I don't know. For me, well, it's hard to get weapons in Europe anyway. So
I had a feeling you always had weapons. That's my guess.
Right. It's hard to get weapons here in Europe.
No comment.
That's
right.
Just hard to get
not when you're, special forces and you work in the government and, So let me ask you, because I want to get some right now.
Keep that in your mind, but I want to say something about it seriously now.
Please.
I can't explain it myself, why I do what I do, how I do what I do, and why it's like that, because it all just comes to me. People trust me. They trust my word, and they trust that I will treat it with respect, and I will say what's supposed to be said enough for people to make out their own sort of conclusions. That's what it is.
I'm getting to know you now. We're really having a real conversation here, and I'm starting to get the hang of this whole podcast thing. But I would say like this. To me, you're an alpha male. You're a regular guy. You're very special. But when it comes to your geopolitical understanding of what's really happening in this world, it's almost astounding to me. And when you speak about it, I intuitively know that you're 100% correct. And that's odd for me. Because I am a listener and a talker, but I absorb information, I process it, and etc. But the things the information, the opinion that you deliver, and again, it's more like, to me, it's like fact than opinion.
Yeah. I don't report on anything I don't know personally, haven't experienced personally, or don't know someone who's personally involved.
So, Steven, for the first time, over the last several months, the pundits on TV, national television, that have been saying, buy the dip, market goes down 400, 500, 600 points, whatever it's been, they say buy the dip with certainty. That's how they believe. National television, and they've been right. It's been good advice. Today, for the first time, when they were suggesting, because the hosts of these shows are trying to persuade the investing public to get into the market. Everybody's a bull. Everybody. So for today, for the first time, the pundits that have been saying, buy the dip, for the first time they said, no, they're not buying the dip. It feels different this time. Let's wait and see how this plays out. Could this be the beginning of World War III? There's nobody who I speak to whose opinion is more meaningful to me than Steven Eugene Kuhn. I mean this. So please share with us what you think is happening and try and be, understandable.
Yeah. Well, that's a heavy weight to carry. Let me put it that way.
I get it.
It's
huge.
I think, I don't think it's World War III. I think it's a regional World War III. So there'll be regions that'll break out. I mean, if you look at Iran right now, that can be used as a diversion for Putin to go full on and say, look, I'm done with this. I'm going to end it in Ukraine, which will end.
That's part of the thinking. Taiwan and China. I mean, this could be.
Yeah, the same thing.
A triple-headed monster.
And smaller scale in other places too. But look, Iran has 800-meter deep or a 5-mile deep labs and nuclear processes. There's no kinetic weapon on the planet that can go that deep anywhere.
Correct.
And they have nuclear weapons right now. They actually have them right now. They say, they'll have them in a couple days, weeks, months, whatever, but that means they already have them. Right. And Iran, as we're sitting here, just threatened to show what nuclear war looks like. So, the Middle East could be the first place where that happens. According to my sources early this morning, they don't see that as an option still right now because the capabilities are there, but the viability isn't. Right. So It's sort of self-depriving if you would do that, put it that way. So I'm not sure where that's going to go. But for me, I don't think it's going to be full out blown World War III, not as far as conventional warfare goes, but as far as blackouts, EMF, the tech blowouts.
The EMPs, the EMPs.
Supply, sorry. EMF was a band, wasn't it? And you have the blackouts, the supply chain breaks, and all that kind of stuff where they're going to have shortages of all kinds of stuff due to the war, right? So in that aspect, it probably will be a world war, at least in the Western world and the Middle East, because the only people that need to be brought down a notch is the Western world. And that's why what's happening right now is happening in the last 10, 15 years.
Right.
Because the economies are too strong. The people are too comfortable. They get what they want, when they want, how they want. You had the ex-head of Oracle, I believe it was, in the UK saying that by 2030, no one's going to be allowed to leave the UK. There will be no commercial flights. Like, you're stuck there. That's it. 15-minute cities, the whole works.
Wow.
This is not, and so that leads you, someone like me, to think, wait a second, my kids live in Hungary. Two of my kids live in Turkey. Well, if I can't fly back and forth, how's that going to work?
Wow.
So, yeah. And they don't care at all. It's all about profit and power. So no, I don't think it's going to be a conventional war, World War III. It'll be an economic World War III with flashpoints like Russia, Ukraine, Middle East, things like that, Taiwan, China, possibly. I don't think it'll be full blown out war. It can't be.
Supposedly, England was involved in helping shoot down the drones, and that Qatar was involved.
American refueling planes from Qatar were refueling
in the air. Lebanon was involved so there's a lot of regional like alliance now against whatever the Iranians have been doing or plotting to do. Yeah. Is that legit? Is that real? Is that what it means? Or
it's people are showing their true colors. Only like nations like Saudi Arabia showing their true colors. A lot of people don't know that when Saudi Arabia was attacking Yemen with airplanes, they were almost exclusively Israeli pilots flying those Saudi Arabian airplanes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So certain alliances are becoming revealed now. It's like, which side of the finally nations have to be like, which side of the table you're going to sit.
Yeah. And even then, because of the economic strength, Saudi Arabia is one of the fastest growing economies on the planet. They're pumping more money into their country like you've never seen, like blowing Abu Dhabi and Dubai out of the water.
Wow.
And so because of their economic power they can do these things, and no one who's going to do something against them, and they don't have terrorism in Saudi Arabia. They don't have terrorism in UAE.
No, it's not allowed.
Because they won't allow it. Exactly.
Right.
You raise a finger, you're gone. Well, first we'll chop it off, and then you're gone.
Yep, exactly. You got this ruling family, right?
Yep.
With all the money in the world, literally. I mean, and you have a lot of very poor people, and the way they keep them at bay is the hatred of Zionism, the hatred of Israel, the hatred of the Jews. Everything's their fault. Meanwhile, the royal family, you got 100 people living like, they're all kings.
Yeah.
The Sheikh's son in Dubai, for example. And think about the people that have nothing. The majority of the whole, that whole region.
Yeah.
People are impoverished, yet you have the mega wealthy. You have to figure out ways to keep everybody. Yeah. You can't kill everybody. You can't chop everybody's arms off. You know what I'm saying? You have to control.
Well,
control.
Like in UAE, when you're a citizen, you're Emirati, you get a free piece of land, you get taken care of, and typically basically don't have to work, right? You're taken care of. So who's going to rebel? I mean, right?
Exactly. I like it. I wish somebody would take care of me.
Well, think about it. People say, "Oh, Trump's a dictator." Oh, in Hungary, where I am now, everyone says, "Oh, he's a dictator." It's safe here. It's homogenous. There's no immigrants taking over the streets here. There's no terrorism. Poland, same thing. Turkey, there's no terrorism here. Okay, there's occasionally there's something from the inside, and they get taken care of real quick. And you got to choose, like how do you live better? Like in the end, You're not going to change the world. I'm not going to change the world. We can only inform, help, and stay solid. So where do you want to live? You want to live somewhere where you're safe, where you can go about your business every day. People are nice and good and orderly and kind and no criminality. If that's under a dictator, and it's not a dictator that's like hanging people in the streets, then maybe you got to choose. Like, okay, you know, if I'm under a dictatorship and there's a bunch of idiots running around and they're all getting, you know, taken out, I don't want to live there. You know, and if you look at Russia, like I don't know, I know a lot of Russians and special forces guys and all these kind of people that served in the Russian army. A lot of them knew before it happened and they left because they didn't want to go back to war because they fought in Afghanistan and Libya and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And so they left, and now they're like, damn, you know, I actually want to go back because I see what Putin's actually doing. Think about it. Putin and Trump, they're fighting the same people. They're fighting the same people. They banned the Soros things, the NGOs, the nonprofits.
Correct. I get that.
The IMF, the WEF. They're fighting all those guys. Like it's the same people. So why is American president of the free world and Putin is a dictator fighting the same people? Shouldn't that tell you something?
Well, people don't understand what you just said. So you understand the way you just phrased that made it. You clarified it for me. Even I get it now. I have a good friend. I met a guy when I was in prison. He's He's from Russia, and they charged him with a federal crime, put him in prison with him and like 18 or 20 other people. 2 years in, the federal judge rules that a federal appellate court takes 2 years that none of them committed a federal crime. None of them committed a federal crime, and so and they were all Russians that had come and made a real life in America.
Yeah.
And they had maybe violated city ordinance, but it wasn't a federal crime. And, I mean, they did a Dateline special on him and all these different things. 2020, Playboy did a thing on him because he's a tall, handsome guy. And there's a lot of beautiful Russian women involved. You know what the feds did? The United States government? They said, look, because they all filed to have everything. They said, we're just going to charge you again, and we're going to keep you in this situation. However, if you're willing to leave and not come back to America for 10 years, we'll drop everything.
Yeah.
So they threw it out. Everybody had to leave the country for 10 years because these particular United States attorneys are embarrassed.
Didn't want to look bad.
That's the whole thing. So 10 years, my friend has to go back to Russia. But here's what I learned. Because at the time, you know, you watch TV, you sit in a little unit, you know, it's a crazy thing in America. And when you're inside, and they were bashing Putin. And he got up and walked away. And I said, Stan, what's going on? You know, he's my friend. And big, tall guy. He was a gangster in Russia. And left because he would have been dead. So he came, you know, he was in the nightclub business. He was a collector, all these different things. And he said, you know, they make Putin sound like he's a villain. He is the most revered man in Russia. When he took charge of Russia people were starving. There was no supplies. There was no food. You had to wait online to get a loaf of bread. And that Putin changed all that. And he turned this into a real country and that he's a national hero. And he was telling us this story, and me and a bunch of guys are listening, and it just instantly made sense to us. But, you know, for control, you got to have the good guys and you got to have the bad guys. Yeah. It's like the old movies. The cowboys wore white and the bad guys wore black.
Weights and balances. Yep, weights and balances.
It's just so crazy how it's like you say, it's happening right in front of us.
Yeah. Yeah, it is, and it's plain as day. And if you can't see it, that's because you don't want to see it. It's because it's disruption. Like this is what happened in Canada. So you know, Canada, they were surprised that the Liberals took over. If it was stolen or not, I don't know, but that's what they say.
Right.
And what they realized, though, when they looked at the voting blocks and who voted how, all the boomers, they don't want to disrupt. They're like, whatever, I'm good. I got my pension. Right. I'm cool. Like, let's not rock the boat. I don't have that many years left. Why should they even care?
Just check the box.
Exactly.
It's really nuts.
It's horrible.
Canada's a wreck. I have a lot of Canadian friends now, and they're all leaving.
Yeah.
They can't get out of there fast enough.
Yeah.
The tax. When I heard what some of these guys have to pay in taxes, nuts.
Yeah.
They want like 3/4 of everything.
Well, welcome to Europe.
Is Europe already gone?
Yes.
It's not even salvageable, correct?
No, no. It's not. I mean, look at Germany. Got rid of nuclear power. They got rid of coal. The electricity, as energy prices are just ridiculous. Out of they tax you between 45 and 55% as an employee.
Wow.
Right, 45-50%. That's before VAT, value added tax, which
God.
in Germany it's 19%, I believe. So 19% sales tax, basically. And then you have luxury tax. And then you have, if you own real estate, now they're putting out another luxury tax for anybody who owns real estate. Basically, if you can't pay, they'll take it from you. It's I had my own run-ins there in Germany, which I'm still a resident, but it's, I don't go there anymore, put it that way.
How come, now I noticed you said you're in Hungary and you live in Turkey, and you made a very good case for, the wonderful lifestyle you have. How come you decided never to come back to America or not to live in America? I'm just curious.
Well, it started when I was in the military and I came to Europe, and I'm like, look at this place. My God, it was before the wall went down. It was safe. It was beautiful. It was friendly. It was rich, deep culture. I lived in a place in Zurich, in an apartment, in a building that was twice as old as my country, America. The building.
Wow.
And for me, it was like, and it's still here in the middle of the city. In America, we have cities that are abandoned. We have like ghost towns and stuff. Because everything's built out of wood, and it's built for, when I go home to the States, it's you're consume. Eat, shop, watch TV or whatever. That's what everybody does. And it's like, what's it just? I can't live like this. And then the West started getting corrupt. So I moved further east. I went to Hungary. All right. And then, because I met Olga, I moved to Turkey because she was living there already when I met her.
She was living in Turkey?
Yeah, she was living in Turkey already, yeah.
What made a woman like that leave and go to Turkey?
Worked for a Russian-Ukrainian company that ran the largest tour company in Russia that brought Russian tourists to the Middle East.
Wow.
And she was the director. She was the director first in Turkey, then she went to Egypt, then she was in Taiwan, then she was in Vietnam, and she was like the director that ran the company to bring all these tourists from Russia and from the Ukraine over to these different regions.
So at some point she actually had to make all those trips, so she's familiar with everything, correct?
Oh yeah. She's lived in 8 countries. I've lived in 10. She's lived in 8. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You guys so America was just not a real consideration for you.
No. We're gonna live there probably end of this year, beginning of next year for about a month or two, because I want to see what I can do over there in nearer proximity to what I'm talking about, if you know what I mean. So,
yep.
See where that goes.
I love it.
Yeah.
Make sure, and I'm in South Florida, so make sure you reach out to me, okay?
We're always in Florida.
Are you?
Always in Florida. Yeah, it was in West Palm. We spoke last year. Then we were in Jupiter. Actually, my buddy from Jupiter just landed in Hungary yesterday. He's coming to see me. He's coming to see me on Sunday. Yeah.
So I'm in Palm Beach County. I'm in Palm Beach County. I'm down the block from West Palm Beach.
Yeah. Well, he and I, we did. Well, he introduced me on the beach in Jupiter to Olivia Newton-John, and then when I talked to Olivia and John, her husband, I ended up talking her into letting me launch her company in 6 countries in Europe. So he and I came to Europe. She came to Europe with me, and we launched her company in 6 different countries.
Wow.
And so I got to meet and hang out with Olivia, and he's a really good friend, and we built businesses together and had a lot of fun and all kinds of stuff. So he's here to visit. And then, then I moved further east. And for me, it's about one thing, and that's the social structure. When that social structure starts to break, and you have in Germany, like you do 91 genders, how do you even talk to anybody? How do you even talk to anybody about that? Like, what are you going to talk to someone who says I'm a penguin? Or they're running around in a cat suit, hawking down the street. It's like, what? You can't talk to somebody like that.
They're just living out sexual fantasies. That's what I think. The whole thing is it's like mental illness. It's really crazy.
Yeah.
And
they're being pushed and encouraged to do that, because that's what breaks the social fabric. The social fabric of any society is the nuclear family.
In prison in America, you can't get a friggin' Tylenol.
Yeah.
You could be sick. You got to beg. You got to wait in line. But if you want to chop your penis off and become a woman, they pay for it.
Yeah.
In prison. And this has been an ongoing argument. Trump's a bad guy because he's putting an end to that. I mean, like, what is that operation? 150 grand? You can't get a Tylenol.
Yeah.
But
Well,
if you want to, chop your testicles off and become
here's the thing. Here's the thing. That's all true, and it's all facts and everything, but it won't reach the right ears. So how do you reach the right ears? You reach the right ears by talking their version of common sense in a way that isn't confrontational or inflammatory.
Yeah.
I sat on a plane one time, and I literally got on the plane, and there was a Hungarian-American woman there sitting in the plane, and I said, "Oh, excuse me, this is my seat beside you." She's like, "Oh my God, you support Trump, I could tell." Like out of the blue, I'm like,
exactly.
Whatever. And I said, "What do you mean?" She goes, "Well, you're big, you're American, you're wearing red, white, and blue." And I had like a red sweater on with a blue striped shirt underneath.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And I didn't even realize it. And I sat down with her and I listened. And I asked a few questions, but literally questions that I really wanted to know and not to trick her or to guide the discussion. At the end of the flight, she said, "You're the first Republican that I like."
Wow.
And I thought, and she was like liberal freak, like off the rails,
Nuts.
The glasses, the blue hair, the whole works, and it's, and that's when it hit me. I was like, well, I didn't want an argument on a plane. I had to sit beside her. So I could either bow down and just be quiet, or I could literally say, well, let's just hear each other. What do you get to say? And she said, I understand exactly where you're coming from, and it makes absolute sense, but no one explains it like you do.
That's a gift that you have.
Well, I don't know, because I don't know, because I was actually on German TV for 2016 and then 2020 elections. I did the Trump election night thing on German TV.
Oh, wow.
It was actually Deutsche Welle, so it was German and English. So I would do one segment in German and do the same one again in English, and then wait an hour and do it again, German, English, German, English, German. And that's what they said. They said, wow, you have such a way of explaining this stuff. It's so simple. And I think simple. Like, I'm the guy that if you say, hey, man, my computer doesn't work, restart it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that's how I think,
Unplug it and then put it back in. And that solves 80% of the problems, really.
Yeah.
That's
start
my
from zero
solution.
and build up. Start from zero, start over and build up.
All right. So now let's just share the name of your book one more time.
Unleash Your Humble Alpha.
And where can people find that?
Amazon and on Audible.
Oh, also an Audible.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. It's an Audible. It's great. I did 97 interviews for speakers or for orators.
Really?
Yeah, because I wanted to get the right voice.
It wasn't your voice?
No. My voice is too deep and I speak too fast. We tried.
Wow.
We tried. Yeah.
Today with AI, AI can do all these things.
Yeah, you can do anything with AI. Yeah, of course. I mean,
it's amazing today.
There's people that take my videos and they dub them in AI, in Romanian, in German, and I see it, and my lips are moving.
Right.
I'm like, this is freaky.
They haven't perfected it yet, but it's getting there. It's literally getting there with gestures and inflection and tonality.
Well, I ran into a buddy at the airport today. Olga was with me, and he said, "Dude, I have a buddy who he's making hundreds of millions of dollars." I'm like, "What?" He said, "There's an AI, a life-size female that men can acquire, and it learns from you and turns into basically your wife." And he said, like, men are now who buy these things don't even want women anymore. How scary is that? How scary?
Well, it actually sounds pretty good to me. I'm going to say, I understand the commercial logic. I get it.
Totally.
An AI woman that says, "Yes, dear, I love you, dear. You're beautiful, dear." Doesn't argue, doesn't raise a voice. Her opinion is your opinion. I mean, what am I going to tell you?
Yeah.
I mean,
and
I've been around a long time.
Like, if I could get one like Olga, and then she would never sleep, man. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly. I got you. All right. So now, where can everybody find you? Because I think we should amp you up a little bit.
Thank you. I'm on Instagram and TikTok under the same name, Steven Eugene Kuhn.
Kuhn. Kuhn.
Yeah. And now the problem on TikTok is there's about 50 or 60 fake accounts using the same picture, the same name, and they add like a dot in between or two N's.
Yep. I've seen that myself. Yep.
So
it's all under your name on social media.
Steven Eugene Kuhn. Yeah. On LinkedIn as well, Steven Kuhn. And on Twitter, I'm like, I don't know, Kuhn Steven 97120 or something like that. Something.
Yeah. Okay. Now, before we say goodbye, is there anything that you want to share with the audience?
Yeah, I think these are the times where it's easy to get scared and worry, and you should be alert. But it's also a time where we need to stay grounded, because when you're the calm in the room, that's what people radiate to.
Correct.
This is an opportunity for people who see that to step into their power and actually be that pole of calm. And people need a foundation in which they can hang on to in times like this. Be that foundation. Be the person that runs your company that way for your employees. Be that person in your social circles that'll attract the right people in your social circles and build something amazing.
I love that. And your belief is that we're going to see a little bit of a prolonged bombing. Is that the right word?
Well, I just tell you what I just heard is 2 weeks minimum.
Yeah. Boy, that's a lot of pain these Iranian people are going to go through.
Yeah. And it's a shame, because I have a lot of Iranian friends. When I lived in Hamburg, Germany, I had a company and I had 79 employees. I think 50 of them were Persian.
Wow, yeah. And I've become friendly with a lot of them here in South Florida. I have a lot of, they call themselves Persians to this minute. And, because I'm friendly with them, I'm on their social media and I see them back in, Tehran and with the family. And this is a shame that bad leadership.
And it's horrible too, because I had an assistant. She was Persian, born in Germany. She actually left Germany and went to Iran to live there.
My God.
How bad it got. Can you imagine? Let me go back. Yeah. So
bad decision.
But is it?
We're going to find out in the next few weeks.
Now, of course now. But I'm saying, was it in the time? No, because she thrived there. She started this women's fitness movement and got all over the TV and everything. It was pretty amazing.
As long as they didn't cut her head off. Because, the mullahs are very unforgiving over there.
Yeah. They are.
It's no joke. Steven, thank you so much for your time. I want to say it has been an honor and a privilege getting to know you. I have some of your contact information. I will send you mine.
Okay.
And
great.
It was just so great to get to chat with you finally. And I endorse and support what you're doing. I'm thrilled that I got to meet the wife and have this chat. And I'm looking forward to, the next few years getting to know you and following what you're doing. So thank you so much for today.
When we're in South Florida, we're stopping by, my friend.
100%.
All right. Cool.
Take care, Steven.
Take care, bro.
Speak to you soon.
Bye-bye.